All right, so nice to see everybody. Have a seat, cross your shins. As Tristan's demoing, lining up the foot with the knee. Flex the feet. Press your hands into your thighs, lift your spine up. Drop the shoulders, chin lift, head lift. Press your hands down again, take a deep breath, keep pressing your hands through the whole thing. As you exhale, draw your back ribs in, stretch your side rib forward, lift your front ribs up, drop your shoulders again. You can let your hands relax, but keep all that lift, let the eyes close. So as you spend just the next couple minutes sitting here inside your own body, about to start your practice, you might hear things that you've heard a lot before. You might practice things you've practiced a lot before. You might do things that are new, hard, easy. Recognize what outcomes you might be thinking you want in this. Recognize the ideas or dreams that you have that this is supposed to do to and for you by the end of it. And I challenge you to let them go. We set up the kind of loop in our yoga practice and any kind of practice like this, where a lot of times we're drawn to yoga or to meditation or these kind of practices for the health benefit. But so often the cultural idea from them is learning to let go of all desires. But we get back on the mat. So for your practice today, though, it's not about just being receptive to what the teacher says to do, but be receptive to what comes up or happens for you that's not what you expect. Because if you're only looking for one thing, you might miss some other things that might happen to or for you. A way to practice changing your outlook. Excuse me. A way to practice changing your outlook is not just to because we live in a world that changes, information changes so wildly and so quick. The practice is the opportunity to let go of our expectations so we can change. We can practice thinking or changing our thinking on things. First ourselves, ultimately the world around us. Because, as I've said before, knowledge is the set of assumptions we're working with right now. Wisdom is what we have when we're letting them change. So recognize what you're coming into this practice with, my friends. And be receptive to different things coming through. So ultimately your practice is not just your hamstrings or your hips or meeting your expectations, but it's a practice of being receptive, practicing the ability to change your thinking, and all of the other benefits you get for the body are a bonus. Bring the palms together at the chest, thumbs touching the sternum. Spread your fingers apart a little bit. Blow them shortly 3 times and begin. Take a breath. Om. Flex your feet. Oh. Chest lifted. Oh. Bow your head for a moment. And salute the essence of yoga inside yourself. Bring your hands into your lap. Let your head rise and your eyes open. All right. So again, nice to see everybody. People that snuck in. You're going to want to make sure you have a yoga strap or a belt or whatever you use. In that case, whatever you've been able to order online or get a hold of. So grab your yoga strap. And you're going to start seated still, but seated on some height, like Tristan's on the bolster there, without the dog. So you're going to sit in Dandasana, please. Tristan, would you sit facing? You're going to sit with both legs straight on your yoga bolster or your block or whatever it is you're working with. Start with Dandasana. Have your yoga strap nearby. So start with legs stretched out in front of you. Your fingertips on the floor next to your hips and lift your spine up as tall as you can. Again, the tips of your fingers point the same direction as your feet are. So you're not turning your fingers around behind you because that just overly rotates the shoulder. This is about pushing down through, so this all pulls back. The shoulder pulls back, not just your whole upper body. But when you pull the shoulder back and push down through the fingers, be active in this. Feel how the upper back flexes a little bit to make that action happen. When you actively push the hands down, if you feel your upper back flex, keep that flexion. Flex your thighs to help work it. And then stretch both arms straight up, please. So you complete the extension of Dandasana here. And then when you took your arms up, did you lose that same upper back flexion? And can you re-engage it again so you're not lifting from the mid and lower pushing forward, but you're lifting from your upper back, more or less picking your rib cage up and then keeping that flexion of the muscle on the backside of your body. Can be challenging. Take a few deep breaths here. Interlace your fingers, bring them behind your head. Not on your neck itself, but at the skull itself, on the skull. Push your elbows back, push your hands into your head, tilt your chin up slightly and push your head back into your hands. Those three actions, head back, hands into head, elbows back. Now work your legs. Stretch your legs long by pressing down through the thigh. And again, move those inner shoulder blades into your back to get your chest to lift a little bit, and then stretch your elbows away. So you're getting a lot of upper back work just in this action from seated. Now this can be hard standing too, but if you notice with your legs straight and you're having to do this seated, some other parts of your shoulders, your back might be getting fatigued because it's much harder to correct in the upper body and the neck seated like this. When we're standing, our legs are helping lift us more, our pelvic floor is engaged. This works much more simply into the parts we slouch in when we're seated. What's that? Yeah, you'll get cramps. Tristan's already cramping. So happy for her. We're only 9 minutes in. So flex the thighs, hands into head, head into hands, elbows back. Without twisting your legs too much, turn your upper torso to the left. Still pushing your hands into your head, elbows back, all that good stuff. Just twist your core as much as you can. And notice how your elbows might want to come in a little bit to do this. Like Tristan's doing a good job keeping your elbow back, but it's very easy to twist your elbow first. Don't do that. I want you to learn to twist your upper back and your mid and low back on its own without your elbows doing the work. So don't let your elbows come in and lead you. This isn't a crunch like where you're trying to touch your elbow to anything. You want your elbows to stay so winged back that your twist totally happens from just the upper body. My legs are pointing this way, but I can rotate my torso so my chest faces straight out. I'm not letting the elbow come in. Pull the elbows back, push the head into the hand, and into the head. Work your thighs. Check which leg wants to stop working. Whatever side you're twisting to your left, I think, everybody. It's easy to shorten from rib to hip. So lift your left rib, right rib all the way up, and then twist by pulling your back ribs around. So your left rib is stretching to your right, and your right is pulling to the front. So engage your back right muscles to push you forward as your left pull up and back. So you're really trying to engage both sides that are stabilizing the rib cage. In class, I would probably have you just like have someone push on your back on your right ribs to help this, but you don't have that. So you got to go deep into that right back muscle and push it forward towards your toes, work those front muscles, left muscles back and up. A few more seconds, just kind of play with it. See what you can experiment and feel differently now that you're not using your arms to do the twist. What different back muscles can you help create the rotation? Because this will affect all the way into the upper spine. Try not to twist your head, just twist your body. Head back, chin up, hands hard into head, elbows back, stretching back. All right, twist to the right. Next forward. Elbows pulled back, hands into head, head into hands. And now that you can't use the shoulder or arms, work your legs, flex your thighs, both left and right. Notice which one is easier to flex and harder to flex because of the twist. Because if it's true seated, it'll be true standing. And then go to your back muscles. Your left back muscles push forward towards your feet. Your right front muscles pull back towards the world behind you. And you just hold. Holding that stationary action, rotating, push your hands into your head, stretch your elbows back at the same time. So you have to strengthen those neck and back muscles to lift as you twist. Work the thighs. Work your legs. So be in the twist, just a few moments longer. It'll be hard, but you'll live, I promise. I can't promise that. All right, untwist, rotate your body back to center, hands behind your head still. Thighs flexed, elbows back, hands into your head, head against your hands. Fold forward like you're going to stretch out towards your toes. Go as far as you want, but you only go as far as that you can keep your elbows moving back. So this is really how much you can push your thighs down into the bolster to lift your hips up and go over the legs. You take the arms out of this equation, forward folds become much more challenging. Notice how many of you are tucking your neck down. Pick your head and neck up. Push against those hands. Bring your chest into the fold faster. Push your head up into your hands. Always keep that contact point fairly strong. And hold. You feel that, Tris? You feel that? So flex your legs. Take a deep belly breath. Pick up the abdomen. And don't sit your spine up. Just pull your belly towards your back so you can stretch your low back forward into the pose any degree deeper. This is not easy, but this is important to be able to fold forward without being dragged forward by your shoulders, because this creates a lot of strength of your back, healthy range of motion too. All right, bring the body up. Bring your arms down for a moment. Okay. She's cramping in her hips. That's great. Cross your right ankle over your left thigh. Pull the foot as close as you can to the left hip. If you're having knee pain in the right knee, elevate the knee with a block or pillows or whatever. If you're not having knee pain, instead of flexing the foot, point the foot away from the knee so you can pull the pinky side edge of that foot in towards that hip crease. You look at any of the pictures like of the senior teachers or Mr. Angar doing poses where that one leg's foot's up on the thigh, it's all very pointed and it's very rotated where the foot turns up like this. So take your left hand, reach under your foot and grab your big toe, and then turn the foot up towards the ceiling. So you're trying to pull and rotate that big toe joint towards the ceiling itself as much as you can. There you go. Just like that for right now. We're going to make this much harder and much more stretchy and all that in a moment. Just right now, can you get used to rotating your foot so the sole of the foot points up to the ceiling? And try to hold on to the big toe joint to do that. That's why you reached your hand under to hook that big toe joint. You're pulling from that joint. I would not grab the big toe itself right now. You just get a moment or two feeling that. We'll add to it. Even though your hand is doing a lot of the work of twisting the foot, can you actively point the foot? So your right thigh is very active. Can you point the foot harder, stretching the toes away from the knee? Because you'll want that little bit of extra stretch when we get to the next foot. So now, one of the ways that we start working on the shoulders and neck in our seated poses is how much we take the arms behind our back and grab things. It's one of the interesting things in a lot of the forward folds and parts like that, how you actually make forward folds, adjust your shoulder and neck is always by reaching behind you. So Tristan is going to try to reach her right arm straight out to the side, turn her palm back to the world behind her. So the arm straight out, you turn your palm back, reach your arm back as far as you can before you bend the elbow. Once you've stretched your arm straight, far back as you can, then you bend the elbow and reach across. You're trying to get a hold of your right big toe with your right hand. You got it. Wunderbar. If you cannot reach that foot with that hand, you take a strap, you put it around something, you put it around the toe or the foot, and then you climb your hand down it as far as you can. So you either grab the foot with the hand or the strap, and you climb your right hand down that strap as far as you can get. Because here's what happens. This makes the shoulder blade pull down and in a way that very few motions of your arm can make you do. It's important to practice this action to pull this down open because one, it can open the chest. It relieves the neck, a lot of the nerve action that goes down into the shoulder. And you hold on. You keep crawling your hand down that strap, or you've grabbed a hold of that toe, you point the foot, and then here's where the practice becomes how much you compensate with your back for your shoulder. How much did your chest bone twist to the right towards the right arm or right side? Try to bring your chest back to center so that shoulder blade has to work deeper and that shoulder has to pull away from your neck to get the pose. Because if you're doing this where you're twisted very off to the right, you got to resist it back to center so it puts that work in that shoulder blade and in that back muscle. And then we do some more. From here, then there would be twisting or forward folds, and we're going to try a couple different ones. Maybe not the twisting part, but the folds. So from here, exhale, stretch forward, reach for your left foot with your left hand. If you cannot grab your left foot, grab your shin, calf, knee, whatever you got, or you have another strap or a strap at all, you can use it to grab your foot. But you just create some action where you feel like you have to move your upper body forward and then keep that right elbow bent and pull your chest towards the right foot, left foot. So even here, Tristan's right ribs are farther back than her left ribs. And you got to look at your own body. And if you're kind of twisted off to one side, center your rib cage, pull the center of your sternum towards the toes. So for Tris, she's got to pull her right ribs deeper into it instead of collapsing on her left side. So this isn't really about how quickly down she can get one piece. It's how she can move the side with the arm that's behind her into it faster than the other side. So she's got to work those right ribs more than her left ribs. She has to lift her left ribs up. And then she can stretch deeper, and the hamstring will stretch, the hip might stretch, the shoulder, all that jazz. How are you doing? The right ribs need to move more. All right, bring your body up. Switch your legs. We'll come back to it. We're going to do it a couple different times. I don't want anyone's shoulder to get tired. So just get your left foot up on the right leg. Pull it as close as you can to the hip. Reach your hand under, grab that big toe, or grab that big toe joint and twist it. You're trying to roll the sole of the foot up to the ceiling as much as you can. And then flex the right thigh. Keep your body in this upright Dandasana action, just in this. Even if you have a knee problem or hip problems, sitting just like this, before we even start correcting the upper shoulder, neck, or back, can be very, very beneficial to it, because the more you, with a little bit of height, just rotating that shin and ankle, you might get a lot of relief to your knee and hip, and your feet over time too. Left arm, stretch it out beside you first. This is important. If you just take your arm and fling it back, it can cause tension in the deltoid and the shoulder. Stretch your arm out, turn your palm back behind you, and really stretch the arm back as far as you can, and then bend the elbow to really free that shoulder joint to maybe get a little more mobility. Then grab your toe or use your strap, whatever you need to. And then as your left ribs want to get pulled away from the center of the chest, turn your left ribs forward. So that shoulder blade, that muscle in your shoulder neck has to go back and down. Bring your body forward, reach out for your right foot with your right hand. Stretch your left ribs farther out than your right ribs. Remember, this is the way your body wants to untwist from this. So the more you pull your left ribs forward and lift your right ribs up, your right side's lifting away from the leg, you strengthen that right abdominal wall, you strengthen those right back muscles that teach you to lift, and then you stretch that left side forward, learning to hinge at the hip rather than your shoulder neck. So be aware, you're twisting that left shoulder forward and your ribs are back here. Pull your left rib cage into it so that shoulder can really stretch back towards that right foot. So you get these variations to Janyu that actually lead to full lotus. You ever look at the pictures of people in full lotus pose, both arms are behind their back, grabbing the top of their feet. I say those people, I've done it twice and I've gotten such bad cramps in my shoulders, I've not been able to really push myself to get back to it. Flex your thighs. Keep your legs active, actively pointing the left toes, even though the foot's on the thigh. How's it feel now? A little easier. Good. Bring your body up. Stretch your left leg out. So a lot of this has been about moving forward slightly, twisting, twist the shoulders, the upper back, moving forward. Because this small little micro action like this actually moves against stuff that, and all the time I've worked, there's been so many people I've heard say that, well, I'm in this pose and I start to go forward and then I don't feel anything, but something doesn't move. A lot of that is the tissue that goes through our back, our shoulders, and into our hips that doesn't have the same amount of nerve endings in it, like say that our fingers do, or our hamstrings, or our chest muscles. And when you start moving that stuff, it's not as much of a sensation. Some of it is just very careful, like move yourself in that position and just hold and be in it. So with both legs straight, you might need your strap. Have it near your body. You're going to stretch your right arm straight up, turn your palm towards your head, move the arm back, and then bend the elbow down between the shoulder blades. Move your left arm out wide, swing it back, bend it. Try to touch your fingers. If you cannot touch your fingers, grab a strap. So gomu of the arm. We'll do full gomu of the legs and arms here briefly, here before the end of class. But right now, this is about exploring all these different arm positions while you're in a very active seated pose, Dandasana, and how you move the spine, and it gives a lot of relief. So grab a hold of each other's hands if you can. This isn't about pulling towards each other deeper or pulling apart fast. It's just a slight hook so they don't come apart. This isn't about getting a deep curl or trying to stretch them apart. That's something. One rib cage went down, one rib cage went up. Your right arm being up pulls your right rib cage up. That's normal. Flex both thighs. Just be aware of that. Exhale, stretch forward, pushing your head back slightly. And then when you start going forward, if your shoulders want to roll forward first, pull on the hands just a little to pull both shoulders back and stretch your chest out more. And then what rib cage, left or right, is going down faster? The right side is probably not going down as fast because it's stretched already. Your left side is. So don't take your left as fast. Stretch your right ribs into it more. Thighs flexed, toes pulled back. It's still forward fold. Bring your body up. Keep your legs straight. Keep your arms in the position. Twist to your left. Best you can. This is hard to do. One side's already stretched long. One side's kind of dropping down. So you got to lift your left ribs up. Move your front left ribs. Lean them back. Move your back right ribs towards your foot. It's hard, isn't it? Yeah. If someone were to come by and grab your left shoulder, move your left shoulder back and in towards your spine. The more you twist here, you're moving right up against a lot of that muscle that restricts a lot of movement in your poses that you don't feel as intensely. It's not as full of, like I said, nerves. It might make other things cramp, lots of other stuff work, but you're moving right up against that tight stuff. Learning to twist with your arms in this position is very valuable for freeing your shoulder net. All right, go ahead and untwist. Switch arms, left arm up and back, right arm back and up. Left arm goes up first, turn the palm to the head, stretch the arm back, bend the elbow. Right arm goes out to the side, push it back, swing it up. Gomu, Omukasa. Thighs flex, toes pulled back. Exhale, stretch out best you can. As you stretch out, figure out which side's going farther, going forward faster. It's probably the right side. You don't want to drop the collapsed side. Lift your right side up towards your shoulder. Stretch your left side into it, so you're stretching that side that's very long. You may not go forward much at all. You might be like, here's straight up, and that's it. Like you just feel like nothing else can go. That's fine. I would rather you work the muscles that teach your body how to fold forward without your arms pulling you into it. This is where if people had any trouble moving forward at all, I would say sit on higher things until your hips release enough that you can feel that forward movement happen without your upper body dragging you into it. Head up, head back. Bring your body up, twist your body to the right. Go to those back muscles. Back left ribs, push towards the foot. Front right ribs, pull towards the back and up. The side that's shorter should lift and pull back. This, learning to twist like this without the use of your arms, is a lot of your abdominal wall. And one of the things that makes it hard to even sit upright in chairs is our abdominal wall is lateral, and the part that goes down to the groin doesn't flex enough to lift because we get slouched. It's exhausting to hold your arms like this and twist at all, because these muscles aren't used to this much action. We overcompensate, we grab chairs and sit a lot. Flex the thighs. Seated, I think in the long run, seated poses are some of the more difficult poses to do in yoga than even the standing poses. Especially in the Iyengar tradition. Like Mr. Iyengar really got into the challenge of seated poses and how beneficial they are. Rotate those ribs any degree more. Imagine someone touching your right shoulder, pulling the front of your right shoulder back and down. Tristan doesn't have to imagine. She's living in the torture. So don't make her suffering and sacrifice in vain. Get as much out of the pose as you can. Right. Untwist. Let the arms go. Huh? I'm not. That one's laughing. Bend your right knee and cross your right ankle over your left thigh again. Reach your right arm behind you. If you know you need a strap to grab your big toe, get it. Reach your right arm back. Bend the elbows, stretch it across, reach for the big toe. Stretch forward again. Reach your left arm out. Move your right ribs into the stretch faster than the left. So if your left is coming down faster, pull your left ribs back and up away from your thigh. So this is a challenge of the abdominal wall and moving the hip. Because the thing that happens, you might notice, your right knee is really outside to the right side of your hip. And this is normal. But to get this fold to happen, if you were to twist your right ribs a lot, you'll notice your right knee pulls a little more in front of you. Because now you're doing is you're flexing your left thigh. You're having to use your core muscles to stretch your hip to your hip and your back. Because when you twist your right ribs forward, using your abdominal wall to pull your pelvis out of a twist back into an alignment that is much better and longer. And it's hard. This is moving a lot of skeletal structure and a lot of muscle in a way that's not your daily norm, especially when we sit. We let our knees go wide, or we sit with our legs crossed, or sit on one foot. None of our seated positions are very much flexions that turn our abdominals into internal rather than holding a splayed out position. Let go of the leg, bring your body up. Now, your right foot instead of taking it off, you're going to take it off the thigh, but I want you just to slide it to the floor on the outside of your left thigh, however much you can. Try to get the sole of your foot to the floor. You're going to take your left arm, wrap it around the left knee. So let's do Martrasana. Right hand just goes back behind you a little bit for now. So we're going to start working on the shoulder, the neck, and the spine in a different form of this twist. This was the first form of this twist I was ever taught, Bharadasana. Gabriel called it the gentle version, and he was not wrong. When you wrap your arm around the knee, this is to teach you two things. One, how to train this muscle down and in to your ribs. Now I'm talking about your shoulder blade and all that muscle into your rib cage, very important. Two, how to stretch your hip and use that movement to stretch your back. So this isn't about how much you can twist your body to the right. Notice I haven't asked you to do that. All I've said is wrap your arm around your knee and place your right fingers on the floor. Pull with your left arm as hard as you can, like you're trying to pull that right knee towards your left armpit. So the more you pull that leg, that knee across the left leg, the right knee across the left, the more stretch you're going to get. And then that's where you start to kind of figure out how to twist from your back again. Don't just make it about how much you pull the chest towards the towards the leg. Pull the leg towards the chest, and you'll see the twist happen. The more you pull this knee into it, the more you're going to get out of it. You'll make it less about your shoulder and neck. But when that knee comes across, like it's going to touch the backside of your left armpit, that's when you're going to get to go to the next stage. Feel your rib cage, whichever ribs are closest to the hips, lift those up, probably your right. And then are you engaging your left back muscles and your left core in this, right? You're using your left arm, so it's easy to overwork that side. Can you flex your back muscles on the left and press those towards the thigh a little bit as then you pull the left or the right thigh into it more? Riveting, I know. Take your right arm out of it. Stretch your right arm back, bend your right elbow, and take your right fingers towards your left abdominal wall. Just do that. That's what happens in the final pose. You don't get to use your back arm. The only arm you get to use is this left one in this form of the twist when you're in the full pose. And this almost will feel, to me, it makes my shoulder ache so much because I put so much emphasis on this being straight, but it's very important that that right shoulder comes into your back, into the twist. All right, untwist. Stretch your right leg straight, bend your left knee across your left ankle over your right thigh. So we're going to do the behind the arm, the forward fold. Left arm reaches back out to the side and around behind you, going for that toe or that strap, whatever you're using. Grab that big toe. Move your left ribs into it first. Center your body. Don't try to stretch forward and your right hand goes out. Your left ribs are hanging out to the back. Stretch your left ribs into it, and if your right hand happens to grab the foot, great. Forward you go. And then you just work it here. You work those left ribs in more. That's what's going to pull your left hip and knee more towards the front of your body. That's what's going to open the muscles around your pelvis, your lower back. It's going to teach your core muscles to rotate your body to center and stable rather than just letting your knees turn out and your hips get tight. We want to disengage the glute and engage the front abdominis. Does that make sense now? Yes? Which one? Tristan's having left hip cramp. You should all be happy for her. few more seconds, a few deep breaths. Oh, baby. Huh? All right, bring the body up. Slide your left foot across to the right side, best you can. Wrap the right arm around the knee. You can use your left hand behind you to start for balance. We all got to do some level. So don't make this about how much you can twist your right shoulder into it, right? This is about how much your ribs and your back can do. Your front left ribs here has to move away from the thigh to move the abdominal wall. Your back right ribs have to suck towards the thigh a little. And then your arm pulls that right shoulder back to pull that knee towards your armpit. It is a deep and active pull on that leg, not to pull your ribs around. I want to be clear about the reason for the action. It's not to pull you into a twist deeper, it's to move your knee more. This knee does not hang out here and I twist my ribs to it. I pull this knee into my body. This is more important because this knee has to learn to go to the backside of this armpit for later stuff. Hard on that hip.
Yeah.
I highly recommend when you're at home practicing, you do some level of work where it's not about like just opening the hip up to the side, but moving it across like this and then moving that knee across deeper. Really activate that leg into this rotation because while seated, this broadens and opens the hips and sacral plate in ways that standing poses do not because of the effect of gravity on the body. This can be challenging, but you want to get really good twists. It has to come from your back muscles moving and your leg moving. Because if you grip from the front here or make your shoulder do this, you will never get the rotation needed to fully extend into this pose or any of the twisted poses. And it might be the thing that's stopping you from getting a lot of modality out of your back anyway, is not engaging the back, overusing the limbs to try and contort the spine. If that makes sense, I don't know. Having so little feedback from the class is so hard. Wham. Now take your left arm, stretch it back, stretch your left hand towards your right hip, right abdominal wall. The more you stretch that left arm into it, the more you're going to start to use your back muscles to do the lift. So we are going to do Gomu, and then we'll do the next steps of this twist. The full action Bharadvajasana is very active. It gives me stomach cramps to do. We're not going full. All right, untwist. All right, how we're going to do Bharadvajasana is not going to come forward onto the hands and knees. You know what? I take it back. Yeah, we are. Come onto your hands and knees. If you do not know this way to get into this pose or the name of the pose off the top of your head, just watch Tristan for a minute. You will probably need a block or bolster or something or a number of pillows to sit on. I've moved them out of the way so you can watch Tristan's legs for a moment. Tristan is going to, with her hands on the floor, cross her right shin and right knee behind the left. So she crossed the knee all the way over. Your feet go wide. Do not keep your feet together. And then I'm going to plant a bolster there for her. She's going to walk back and sit on it. So the knees are kind of stacked for her. And she tries to pull her feet towards her hips. Everyone join her. Everyone do some variation and go moving. So if you can't, like if one block's not enough, sit on two, sit on three. It doesn't matter the height you get. It's just about starting to cross the legs in that action. This is kind of prep for the next twist we do. So here, I'll let everyone get into it. No, Pratama, you got to cross the knee all the way behind the other knee. Or you're just going to give yourself a calf like bruise, which I have done. Trust me, I know that one from troop practice. Because there's a picture of Mr. Iyengar positioning himself in this pose where he does that. And there's a variation that is that, but I have never had something press on my calf muscles like that. And I put tennis balls in there. Very uncomfortable. Later stuff. We'll save that for the, like, after the recording. So just be here for a few moments. Now, for most of us, because this puts such deep stretch on our hips, it actually can shorten our back muscles. I tend to really lean forward into this, and I thought, oh, my back is so released. It's easy to hold my spine up. This upset my back at points and gave me sciatica. You actually want to lean back a little bit. Put your weight into the back side of your pelvis like your abdominals are coming away from your inner thigh. You're going to feel like you're slouching, but for most of us, we're just lining up our upper and lower spine with our glute. Tristan is straight here. I know she feels like she's slouching because she's looking for the camera. But moving your weight back like that, what that does is makes your abdominals flex and makes your back muscles have to stretch against that push. And then you get to sit here and chill for a moment. So whatever leg is on top, we'll do the arms too. So grab your strap if you need. Whatever leg is on top, the opposite arm goes into the air. So if your left leg is on top, your right arm goes up, and vice versa. So for Tristan, she's going to take her right arm up and back, down, up, back. And her left arm swings back. If her right leg was on top, it would be her left arm in there. So whatever leg is on top, that arm, the opposite arm goes up. Now, I actually don't like this. I'm not going to lie. This is traditionally how I was taught to do this. I know why. I'll explain. I'm just trying to think about how to say this kindly. With the left leg on top for Tristan and her left arm going back, both of these sides are shrinking towards each other. That compression doesn't make sense to me. She leans her ribs back. It drops this hip down. Her right side, her right hip is stretched really long away because her left leg's on top of her right and her right arm's here. So her right's on. So she's pulling one side of her spine longer than the other. I don't like that level of imbalance to it, but there is reasons to stretch long. Like if she had a right back injury or something, I would totally have her do lots of that. If you are not imbalanced like that, I find it better to do the opposite with the arms. Whatever leg's on top gets that arm back. Don't do it. Practice it the way that I'm teaching it. There is a benefit to this. That benefit is when you get your arms into this position and move your ribs back for Tristan, her left ribs, it makes her left hip sit down more, which increases the stretch. When you move your core body back, it drops the weight into the hips instead of forward. The arms make you move it back, which stretches your shoulders more even. I don't like it because it shortens one side and it encourages us to slouch. So you have to be active to lift up against it. And sometime at home, try it with the arms in the different position in alignment with the legs rather than opposite. Take the arms out, switch sides. However you want to switch your legs, you just figure out how to get it there. It's just like, I can't do that. Oh, that's so cute. So now whatever leg is on top, that opposite arm goes up, goes behind your head, and the other arm goes back. Now, if you've got a neck or back injury, this can be very hard to do, but it is still important to start moving your arms in that direction because that's what's going to change your upper shoulder girdle and your neck muscles. And remember, if you're working on this, all of these videos, if I remember to hit the record button, which I did this time, are up on the YouTube page, and you can always just go review it and practice these again and relive all the bad jokes and the wonderful commentary. And me stumbling over my words because I woke up from a nap about 10 minutes before class. Move your mid-body back so your weight goes into your hips. Take the overarch out of it. Her right side is the shorter side, so she has to lift it up and then move that core muscle back so it stretches it. So her right hip sits down. The hips will release when the core muscles stabilize enough to feel like that hip is protected and it can drop. It's one of the effects this pose has that's not very talked about, is that this rebalances your pelvis, because when you reset your body weight into it and then work your arms in this, the abdominals have to flex to hold you upright. Thus, the pose. That's why I don't like forward fold versions of this, because it kind of defeats one of the big pieces of it, which is setting your pelvis correctly. It stretches, but remember what I said today was about being open to something other than what you think or what you had planned to have happen or feel. You don't learn to feel for all that muscle movement that is subtle and careful and quiet if you're just really pushing for the deep, intense, cramping stretches. And you don't even get to feel it when it works. You get to feel how it changed after you've done a bunch of it, and then you go, oh, my shoulder and back is different, but I didn't get a stretch there, or something, I wasn't aware of it during it. The human body is like that. All right, take your arms out. Stretch your legs out. So full Bardha. We're not going to go full Bardha. We'll go as much Bardha as you all can take. I'll teach it in stages. None of the legs are straight in the deeper action of the pose. So I'm going to ask Tristan to bend her right knee, and everybody, bend your right knee while seated on something to have some height. Cross your right foot under your left thigh with your foot pointed, so the sole of the foot rolls up to the ceiling. Me having you practice this earlier was actually in point to get you to here. No, your foot. Your heel is not under the middle of your thigh, only the arch of your foot and your toes. Kind of like, if you look at the arch of your foot and then your hamstring, they kind of look like they were designed to lay in each other. So you pull that close, and then you bend your left knee and put your left foot on the outside of your right thigh. I don't care if it's near your knee or near your hip. I would recommend near your knee. So don't pull your foot super deep to your hip, because this is like go move. The thigh does this weird little rotation piece. If it's near your foot, your knee can move better. Or your knee is near, your foot is near your knee. Blah. Take your right arm, lean forward, stretch your right arm out, and try to touch. You're trying to reach your armpit towards that knee, and then wrap your arm around it. And then when you sit up, pull the knee back. Ratchet that knee back into the space. So now you're in the deeper action of Bardha. Not your knee and your elbow. This is too much space. I want that knee near the armpit. Hug it and then pull it up. Sit up with it. And that's going to be hard. Some of you may go, this is as much as I got, and that's okay. But the action is to pull your front muscles back so you can really stretch deeper down into it and reach deeper down. Now when I sit up, this is closer. Tristan's got a lot of daylight on hers. She hasn't practiced this pose as much as I do. And then pull your chest up, and then pull the knee into the twist more. The more you pull that knee towards the back side of your right armpit, the more you're going to get out of this. And then you're going to notice my stomach's in the way. I think mine is all the time. It's not. If I take a breath, If you take a deep breath in this and then exhale and let your abdominal wall go back towards your spine, then pull your knee in deeper. Huh. The more you move that knee across, the better. One of the things that happens in these correct twists that stretch the back and the hip in this is it puts pressure against your abdominal wall. You might get a cramp in the abs in this. I do. It is very important because what it does is you're teaching those muscles to flex to allow your back body to broaden, your shoulders and neck to ultimately release. It also, as Mr. Angar pointed out, makes your digestive system flex a little bit and actually can help it process clean and tones the organs. The more you pull that knee in, the better. You'll know if you're ready to do this old hat where your elbow goes on the outside of the knee when it's not your elbow, when it's your armpit. Because this hand is supposed to go down and grab your foot. We're not doing that. So if you want to take your tricep to the outside of the knee, then push that leg in it harder. This is a much greater form. Now take your left arm, stretch it out behind you, take the hand back behind you and reach for your calf muscle on your left leg. I'm telling you, that's where it goes eventually. You grab your left calf and this arm's on this foot. The whole pose is a big rigmarole. It's challenging because it requires a lot of muscle that we actively don't work. I think because of certain poses feel a lot, and so we like the feeling of progress. You're feeling something here, but trust me, I know what this is. This is not near as intense as doing down dog or headstands or hamstring stretches. But there is a lot of stuff happening here. All right, untwist, switch your legs. Stretch them both out first, then bend your left knee, pull your left arch under your right thigh. Take a breath, move your right foot out towards the outside of your left knee. And later, you're supposed to sit on the foot that's underneath you. And then that adds a tilt to your pelvis, and then it's all freaking crazy. So, grab a hold of that right knee. What you can actually do to help is to take your right hand, push the knee across a little bit, stretch your left arm out, reach that knee, reach the armpit, like you're going to hold the knee with your armpit. And then pull that knee in deeper. Don't make it about how much you twist your shoulders and neck. I'm not worried about that. How much can you pull your knee from the right to the left so your whole shoulder and back has to broaden and open to do that? As Mr. Angar would say, pull your head back into space and look to your left. I know I didn't say this on the other side, but you know, whatever. Don't lean your back away from your knee. Stretch your armpit towards the knee, pull the knee towards the armpit. And go ahead, just for giggles, stretch your right arm out and reach your right hand behind you and just go ahead and reach for your calf. If you want to take your right arm to the outside of the knee, don't go for the elbow, stretch for the armpit or the tricep to start, and then push the knee across. Your movement is to try and move the knee, not to move your back in the twist. A few more moments, deep breath. Take a deep belly breath. Draw your abdomen back to your low back. So it almost feels like your low back is rounding. And then pull with that arm to make the upper body do the work. Good job. Yeah, because you're leaning away from it. Drop your weight back into your right. All righty, untwist. Good job. Lay on your back, stretch your legs out. You're done. Get your dog, your cat, whatever you want to have cuddle next to you. Let your eyes close, tongue away from the roof of the mouth. Take a minute and breathe into your practice. And even though it may not have been anything you thought it was going to be, that often don't post what the menu of poses are about my classes or what their theme are. But can you take time in this pose to see what happened, not just in the parts that were screaming or cramping or aching or frustrating, but in the stuff that didn't make the most noise during it, but now you have an awareness to feel it now. What's different in your calf, your knees, your back, your hips, your shoulders, your ankles, your attitude. Let your awareness of how this practice affected you stretch past this moment on the mat. Go off into the rest of your day. You are not isolated just to this one moment in time. You are taking this with you. It doesn't need to be about, oh, I'm going to practice this every day, or I just have to make sure this is part of my routine. But what's the thing that is hard about the pose, that's going to be hard to practice? Be aware of it. And what's the thing that's going to make it easy to practice? Because there is a part to all these poses that makes it easy to practice, to think about the benefits of it, to allow ourselves to dream. Give yourself that opportunity to see both sides of the pose, so eventually you learn about how the pose affects all of you. Not just physical or mental or emotional, but all parts and pieces. With each deep breath in, slow breath out, rest until I ring the bell, and we move, come out of the pose. Slowly increase the depths of your breathing. Begin to awaken the body, opening, closing the hands, pointing, flexing the feet. Don't tell him shush. Roll your body to the right side. Exhale slowly up you come. All right, until we meet again. Namaste.